Hello students, a warm greetings to all. I have been here to deal with the rest part of your story, The Gentleman of the Jungle. Now, I am going to bring something back into your memory which we dealt with in our previous class. Our previous session was all on how the man was fooled by all the animals using their tactics and the smartness that they had. Let's see what happened in our previous session. When the peace of the forest had gone away, the king of the jungle came there, roaring and shouting at everyone who gathered in a place where the man and the elephant were grumbling each other. After approaching all the animals, the lion asked them, "Don't you all know I am the king of this jungle? How courageous are you to spoil the peace of my kingdom?" On hearing these words from the lion, the elephant, who was one of the high ministers in the jungle kingdom, replied him without having much fear to speak about the things that happened in the forest. He said to him like this, "My lord, there was no disturbance at all to spoil the peace of your kingdom. I had been only having a little discussion or deliberation with my friend in terms of the ownership of the little hut." Later, what happened in the forest is that the lion, who wanted to have peace and tranquility in his kingdom, ordered his ministers to appoint a commission of inquiry to go thoroughly or deeply into the matter that existed in between the man and the elephant. After commanding his ministers to appoint a commission of inquiry, the lion turned his attention towards the man, where he stood all alone, listening to the words of the lion while commanding his ministers to appoint a commission of inquiry. The lion told to the man like this: he had done a very good job by making a friendship with all the members of his forest, especially with the elephant, who was one of the honorable ministers of his state. And later, the lion suggested the man not to grumble anymore. Why? Because he is that he had not lost his at yet. One, and he had to wait until his imperial commission to sit to give a verdict. And on the today when the imperial commission sit to give a verdict, on the today the man would be given numerous of opportunities to state his case before the commission of inquiry, and the lion was sure that the man would be pleased with the decisions of the commission of inquiry. Finally, the man felt very happy after hearing the sweet words of the lion, and he innocently waited for his opportunity to come to him to state his version of a story before all the members of commission of inquiry. And he had a belief in him that naturally his act would be returned to him when the commission of inquiry sit down to give a verdict. Later, what took place as the story progressed is that the elephant took the initiation of appointing a commission of inquiry along with his other ministers. So the elephant was little busy along with his other ministers in appointing the members for the commission of inquiry. Some of the seniors or elders of the forest were appointed to sit in the commission of inquiry. They were Mr. Rhinoceros, Mr. Buffalo, Mr. Alligator, or we can say crocodile, the Right Honorable Mr. Fox to act as chairman, or we can say chairperson, Mr. Leopard to act as the secretary to the commission of inquiry. On seeing these group of animals in the commission of inquiry after being elected to sit in the commission of inquiry, the man protested. The man started waging revolt against all the animals. He asked them, couldn't find any necessity to include a man from my side. The man was told an answer by the animals that there was no one from your side to understand the intricacy or difficulties of jungle laws. Which means, what I mean to say is that no one from his side was well educated to understand the difficulties of jungle laws that were introduced in the forest. And further, the animals suggested the man that there was nothing to fear, for all the members of Commission of Inquiry were from repute and they were known for giving an impartial judgment too. And the man was given an assurance that all the animals of the all the members of the Commission of Inquiry would investigate or examine this issue or dispute with much care and interest. This was the place where I stopped teaching you people. Let's see what happens from here onwards. The commission sat to take the evidence. Now everything was set. The day comes to them to sit down to give a verdict in terms of the case that existed in between the man and the elephant. As the members of the Commission of Inquiry were appointed by the elephant along with the other ministers of the jungle kingdom, the commission was formed and the members of the Commission of Inquiry sat down to take the evidence from all the available sources, especially from the unbiased sources, which means from the impartial sources. Here, students, we need to understand one thing. The members of Commission of Inquiry were appointed specially by the elephant, though he had many members along with him while appointing it. Though now, though we can understand the fact that all the animals that were appointed to sit in the Commission of Inquiry were in the favor of the elephant. Why? Because is that all of them were animal, and the another thing is that the animals were appointed by the elephant only to give him a favor. On this day, the Commission of Inquiry sat down to take the witness, or we can say the evidence, from all the available sources. The Right Honorable Mr. Elephant was first called. Instead of calling the man, the members of Commission of Inquiry summoned the Right Honorable Mr. Elephant before all of them. Why? Because is that already we knew the fact that the members of Commission of Inquiry were all in the favor of Mr. Elephant. If they were really genuine and impartial towards giving a verdict, they should have called the man first instead of calling Mr. Elephant. What they did is that they had called Mr. Elephant to come before them to give his version of a story. After being called, Mr. Elephant came there along with a superior hair. What do we get to see is that Mr. Elephant came before all of the members of Commission of Inquiry all along the way with the superior hair, which means while coming on his way towards the Commission of Inquiry, where it sat down to give a verdict in terms of the case that existed between the man and the elephant came all along the way with the attitude, that's what we call superior hair. The elephant was much confident in him. He knew the fact that he could win this case. That is how he was trying to turn the case towards him. That is how he was trying to divert the attention of the members of Commission of Inquiry, as all of them were appointed by him. This is the tendency that has been that had been exhibited by the elephant while coming before the commission of inquiry is shown here. That is, he came all along the way with the greater quality, having a greater quality in him, as he was much confident about the case. He came all along the way with such a superior hair. That's what we call a greater in quality. This is how he came before the members of commission of inquiry, and brushing his tusks with a sapling which Mrs. Elephant had provided. Brushing his tusks, which means ivory, korehallu, what we call in Kannada, with a sapling. That's what sapling means, a young plant. We can say a little plant which Mrs. Elephant had provided when Mr. Elephant took his departure to come before the commission of inquiry to state his version of false story before all the members of commission of inquiry. Mrs. Elephant had provided him a sapling which was used by Mr. Elephant to brush his tusks. Here we have come across one thing, that is, now Mr. Elephant is going to brush away the case that exists in between the man and elephant. He wants to brush aside all the evidences that are with the elephant. That's how this brushing his tusks suggests us. Brushing his tusks with a sapling which Mrs. Elephant had provided, and in an authoritative voice said. I told you people earlier that the elephant was much confident in all of his action. He was in an authoritative voice said to all the members of commission of inquiry like this: gentlemen of the jungle, have a look at the way how he addresses the commission of inquiry. Gentlemen of the jungle, he behaves as if he is a very genuine person before the members of commission of inquiry. He makes everyone to believe that he is a very gentleman and he is a genuine person. In such a way, he speaks to all the members of commission of inquiry in this manner: gentlemen of the jungle, there is no need for me to waste your valuable time in relating to a story which I am sure you all know. What is he trying to tell all the members of commission of inquiry is that already you got to know the story very well from all the available and impartial sources, or we can say unbiased sources. Already you got to know everything. So I do not want to spoil your time, spoil your valuable time in relating to a story which I am sure you all know. Already you are aware of the story from the unbiased sources. I don't want to waste your valuable time that you already know. By repeating the same story, I don't want to spoil your valuable time. That's what the elephant was trying to divert the attention of the members of commission of inquiry in his own favor. I have always regarded it as my duty to protect the interest of my friends. And now, what as Elephant said is that I have always regarded or considered it as my duty to protect the interest of my friends. He made a friendship with a man earlier. At the initial stage of the story, we got to know that he had developed a friendship with the man who lived his life by building a hut at the edge of the forest. The elephant has given a reason to the members of commission of inquiry by saying that he has considered it as his duty or responsibility to protect or rescue the interest of his friends. He has shown much concern about the interests of his friends, being the high ministers of the jungle kingdom, he has considered it as his responsibility to take care of the interests and wish of his friends. And this appears to have caused the misunderstanding between myself and my friend here, as I considered it as my duty to protect the wishes and the interests of my friend. This might have caused the misunderstanding between myself and my friend here. And the tendency that I have shown towards my friends might have caused the misunderstanding between myself and my friend. This led to the misunderstanding in between us. He invited me to save his hut from being blown away by a hurricane. One very fine day, what happened in the forest is that a hurricane was approaching towards the hut where the man lived his life very comfortably. On that day, the man came to me himself and invited me to save his hut. At the time, his hut was being blown away from the hurricane. Hurricane, which means it's storm, that's what we call Sunturgali in Kannada. The man, when his hut was in a position of being blown away by a hurricane, the man came to me and invited me to his hut to make use of it and prevented from being blown away by a hurricane. As I considered it my duty to protect the wishes and interests of my friend, I had gone there to save his hut from being blown away. That is what he instilled in the mind of all the members of Commission of Inquiry. That was not in the case, that was not the fact that he is going to tell before all the members of Commission of Inquiry. The man invited me to save his hut. On that day, the man invited me to rescue his hut being blown away by a hurricane. As the hurricane had gained access here, what do you mean by gained access? Which means the hurricane was getting an entrance. The hurricane was approaching towards the hut where the man lived his life, moving to the unoccupied space in the hut. And here, what we get to see is that since the hut was unoccupied, where we could notice an unoccupied space having nothing in it, there was an unoccupied space left in the hut. Nobody was there. There was a much space available in the hut. It was completely unoccupied. It had to be occupied by someone else. When the hurricane had gained access, when the hurricane was approaching towards the hut, especially at the unoccupied space in the hut, it had to be occupied by someone else. If we let the hurricane to gain access towards the hut, it would the hut would have been blown away by the hurricane. But instead of letting the hurricane to gain access, what I did is that I considered it necessary in my friend's own interest to turn the undeveloped space to a more economic use by sitting in it myself. Here, what do we get to see is that when the hurricane was approaching nearer to the hut towards the unoccupied space where there was a much space left in the hut, I considered it necessary to go inside the hut and to occupy the space that was left unoccupied in my own friend's own interest, as I was called to rescue his hut from being blown away by the hurricane. In his own interest, I had gone there to turn the undeveloped space to a more economic use. Only to turn the undeveloped space. I told the people earlier that inside the hut there was a much space available. There was none except this man to fill it. But he had his own place to sit on. But apart from the place where the man sit, there was a space that was undeveloped. To turn this undeveloped space to a more economic use by sitting in it myself. If I sit in the undeveloped space, the man, the hurricane couldn't blow away the hut. For this reason, as I considered it as my duty to take care of the interests of my friends, I had gone there to turn this undeveloped space into a more developed space, to use it by sitting in it myself. This is how I had gone inside and acquired it. A duty which any one of you would undoubtedly have performed with equal readiness in similar circumstances. Now, this elephant told all the members of Commission of Inquiry that the duty that I had done towards the man as he was my friend, to take care of his interests and wishes, I had done my job. In the similar manner, if you were in the position of me, you would have performed the same thing in that similar circumstances. The duty that I have performed towards my friend would have been performed by you as well if you were in the similar circumstances. This is how the man, the elephant, justifies his act of occupying the hut. Students, here you will probably be asked this whole paragraph for 5 marks. You need to focus yourself onto this particular paragraph for 4 mark question. Let's see what happens in our coming paragraph. After hearing the Right Honorable Mr. Elephant's conclusive evidence, this is how, after saying all those words before the members of Commission of Inquiry, the elephant put an end to his evidence, which means that's what we call conclusive evidence. In another sense, he put an end to his evidence. After hearing all those words from the Right Honorable Mr. Elephant's conclusive evidence, when he put an end to give his evidence before all the Commission of Inquiry, the Commission called Mr. Haina. And now, on hearing those words from the elephant, the members of Commission of Inquiry summoned the another animal, that was Mr. Haina, Kattakiruba, what we call in Kannada, and other elders of the jungle. And not only Haina was called, other members of the jungle were also called to give their opinion in terms of this case. After listening to the words of Mr. Honorable Elephant, who all supported what Mr. Elephant had said. Mr. Haina and other elders of the jungle, all of them had supported what Mr. Elephant had said before the members of Commission of Inquiry. Already we knew that the members of Commission of Inquiry were appointed by the elephant and other ministers only to favor him. And moreover, they were all animal. They couldn't do any favor to the man as he belonged to the another living creature. Then he called the man. They then called the man. The Commission of Inquiry later finally called the man. Now they had summoned the man before the commission of inquiry to state is a story, or we can say to state is case, who began to give his own account of the dispute. After being called before the commission of inquiry, the man came nearer before the members of commission of inquiry and started giving his own account of a story that he witnessed in the forest. But the commission cut him short, saying, but the members of commission of inquiry stopped him saying, that's what we call cut him short. The meaning that is associated with the cut him short is that the commission of inquiry stopped him saying. In our one of the previous paragraphs, we observed that the lion gave an assurance to the man that when the commission of inquiry sit down to give a verdict in terms of the case that existed between the man and the elephant, on that day the man would be given a numerous of opportunities to state his account. But here what happens is that the commission of inquiry stopped the man when he started saying, and they said to them, my good man, please confine yourself to relevant issues. Now, the members of Commission of Inquiry advised him by saying that, my good man, please confine in a sense, restrict yourself to relevant issues. Already we came to know about the story that was with you and the elephant. In relating to the issue that existed between you and your friend, we already got to know. So that you restrict yourself, you put a boundary around you to only to relevant issues. We have already heard the circumstances from various unbiased sources. What do you mean by unbiased? Which means that's what we call impartial sources. Already we have heard the circumstances from the various or numerous unbiased or impartial sources. We have already got to know the story that existed between you and the man. We were aware of the story. That is how we have heard the circumstances from various impartial sources. That is how they have collected the matter that existed in between the man and the elephant. But it was not true at all. All we wish you to tell us whether the undeveloped space in your hut was occupied by anyone else before Mr. Elephant assumed his position. Now, the members of Commission of Inquiry asked the man a question here, that is, they wanted to know only an answer from the man, that is, whether the undeveloped space that was available, that was left in the man's hut, was earlier occupied by anyone else before Mr. Elephant assumed his position. Which means, what is the narrator of the story trying to tell his readers is that whether the undeveloped space that was seen, that was left in the hut, was occupied by anyone else before Mr. Elephant coming inside your hut to protect your interest by sitting in it and prevent from being blown away from the hurricane. On the basis of the story, which was false in nature, told by the elephant, all the members of Commission of Inquiry, they have asked this question to a man on this basis only. Students, let us stop over here. The rest part of this session will be dealt in our coming class. Thank you all for listening to me all through the way. Thank you.